What's up guys, welcome to AnimeKouhai. If you'd like to help me out, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.
And Rimuru, alongside Testarossa, possessed the means to make it a reality. They had delved deep into the economic conditions of these lords, skillfully utilizing that knowledge to their advantage during the talks. Calgurio was impressed by their unwavering loyalty from the outset, and with their meticulous approach, the results were truly astonishing. It made him contemplate revising his own methods in the future.
So, now we're left with the influential elites.
Absolutely.
And I assume you've compiled dossiers outlining their shady activities using your methods?
By this point, Testarossa had earned Calgurio's complete trust. While he wasn't aware of the precise details of her plan, her assurance that it was no problem instilled unwavering confidence in him.
Let's not put words in my mouth. These days, you won't find anyone foolish enough to openly engage in felonies within the Empire. There has been extensive cleanup over the past few decades, and I attribute much of it to Konda's efforts.
Thus, the truly villainous nobility had already been purged. After spending a considerable time in the Empire, Testarossa sensed a general serenity among the people compared to the tumultuous past. A little research confirmed that the reduction in abhorrent crimes was the primary reason behind this change. Only necessary evils like Cerberus and petty wrongdoers remained, insignificant enough to be brushed aside.
But how did you manage to win over the influential elites, then?
Well, I have a conference scheduled for this afternoon. My intention is to finalize an agreement with them during that meeting, and I would appreciate your presence.
It was a clear instruction. Despite Testarossa officially serving as Calgurio's assistant, he had no qualms about following her lead. Faced with such evident disparities in talent and skill, all he could do was nod in agreement. In the reception room, there were only 4 people present: Minutes, the meeting organizer; Calgurio, the secretary of the military; Testarossa, the diplomat representing their partners in Tempest; and Mithra the leader of the influential old money nobles, currently engaged in negotiations. Despite his youth, Mithra possessed an impressive array of talents that left no doubt about his ability to lead such a faction. His mother had once been the queen and partner of the emperor before Rudra, making her Rudra's biological mother. Within the Empire's unique imperial palace system, the position of Empress, the legal wife of the emperor, was not open to just anyone. That role was exclusively reserved for Velgrund in the emperor's life. Instead, numerous queens resided in the inner palace, vying for dominance. These women were willingly offered by the nobility, boasting impeccable noble bloodlines. The first queen among them to conceive the emperor's child would be declared the winner and officially recognized as the queen of the empire. After all, their child was destined to inherit the throne. Although Rudra had his own candidates for queen in his palace, he never showed favoritism toward any of them. Influential nobles sent these candidates, hoping their daughters would secure the position, but ultimately, they were all sent back before any child could be conceived. There were discussions about the new emperor inheriting these candidates, but it was decided that Masayuki had no need for such a system. The decision itself was made by an enigmatic figure whose identity would forever remain a mystery. Nevertheless, Mithra's mother emerged as one of the victorious queens within the inner palace. Her remarkable accomplishment of delivering Rudra earned her an esteemed and enduring reputation. As a reward, she was given 2 choices. She could either stay in the palace, wielding her extensive influence while Rudra grew up, or she could receive a substantial sum of money and marry into the clan of her choosing. Handling the emperor's mother required utmost care. Her words carried immense authority throughout the palace, and even if she left, she was to be respected without question. Therefore, she willingly chose to depart and wed the Duke of Hilmenard. The child who emerged from that union turned out to be Mithra Hilmenard, making him Rudra's half-brother. Mithra possessed an undeniable power that compelled people to submit at the mere sight of him. His appearance alone exuded a sinister aura, suggesting the potential for violent outbursts and instilling fear in anyone who crossed his path. People were intimidated by his absence of eyebrows, and a single glance from him was enough to extinguish any rebellious thoughts and fill their hearts with terror. While he had an average physique, neither too thin nor too bulky, his sheer dominance commanded attention. Even the most esteemed members of the nobility felt an unsettling presence around him, suspecting his involvement in illicit activities or believing that defying him would lead to their demise. It was precisely these qualities that made him a fitting leader for the old money faction, an unwavering force that refused to yield to anyone else. In a physical confrontation, Calgurio would undoubtedly overpower Mithra, even without the general's awakened abilities. However, survival in this world was not solely determined by physical strength. A decent life hinged on having enough food, clothing, and shelter, and going against Mithra guaranteed the loss of all three. Calguryo pondered.
What a daunting negotiator to deal with. I had dreams of commanding the military, but now that I have the position, the true magnitude of the task is clear. Dealing with unnatural beings like him is incredibly challenging.
Fortunately, Minutes was present, so the situation would likely resolve itself eventually. However, in a one-on-one negotiation, Calguryo would have found himself at a disadvantage. Luckily, they had a valuable ally by their side.
Lady Testarossa, huh? She fills me with profound dread, but I couldn't ask for a better companion. And now that I've discovered she is none other than the formidable Blanc, I believe no one can ever defeat us.
Mithra's presence was terrifying, but Testarossa was even more fearsome. This realization helped Calguryo regain his composure. With a newfound sense of calm, he recollected the information the demon had shared with him moments ago.
Hold on a moment. Lady Testarossa mentioned that most of the nobles wouldn't pose a problem. Does that mean Sir Mithra is one of the issues? But that's puzzling. Kondu, after all, would never show mercy, not even to his majesty's half-brother. Could it be that Sir Mithra is not involved in any nefarious activities after all?
Doubts flooded Calguryo's mind. The idea seemed implausible. Mithra instilled fear in people precisely because he was seen as an untouchable villain. If he could command fear and respect from everyone at first glance, there was no way he could be an ordinary individual. As the clock struck the designated time, resonating with a loud bong, it signaled the beginning of the conference.
So you're the troublemakers trying to snatch the throne, huh? Care to enlighten me on why you've dragged me here?
Mithra asked, his arrogance dripping from every word.
Hold on a moment, Your Grace.
Minutes interjected, bracing himself for the impact.
There seems to be a misunderstanding.
What misunderstanding? It's the truth, isn't it?
We're actually following the official procedures of the imperial household law. I'd appreciate it if you didn't label it as snatching the throne.
Oh, I see. Don't get too cocky just because Lady Velgrand is on your side.
That's utterly absurd.
Minutes thundered. Even someone as composed as him couldn't let this insult slide. To an outsider, it might have seemed like Velgrand supported the Empire, but that assumption couldn't be further from the truth. In reality, they maintained peace because they had finally gained Velgrand's favor. As they say, loose lips sink ships, but with Velgrand, the consequences were far more catastrophic. She had the power to wipe entire nations off the map. It was Masayuki's responsibility to keep her content, and despite his gentle demeanor, Calguryo couldn't help but wonder if his motives were truly selfless. The thought sent shivers down his spine.
Sir Mithra, Prime Minister Minutes is telling the truth. Lady Velgrand may be a friend to Emperor Masayuki, but she isn't an ally of our empire itself. If Emperor Masayuki wished it, she'd obliterate our entire nation without hesitation.
Indeed, I've even heard her proclaim that any nation burdening Emperor Masayuki would be reduced to ashes in an instant. We simply can't afford to anger her under any circumstances.
Are you expecting me to believe that?
No, I understand your skepticism. So, let's start by hearing your thoughts on this matter.
Are you asking if I stand with the Empire or against it?
Not exactly.
Then what?
Without wasting a moment, Minutes responded to Mithra's arrogant question and began sharing his true sentiments.
Hey, I need to talk to you, Your Grace. I'd rather keep this conversation hush-hush, but it's crucial that you understand where I stand on all of this.
Just get to the point. If you want my opinion, just ask.
All right, let me start with a question. Duke Mithra, do you have ambitions to rule the Empire? Or would you be open to collaborating with us and lending a hand?
What?
Even Mithra hadn't seen this coming. He expected a tough negotiation, but it seemed they were actually considering giving him control of the Empire. And that's exactly what they were proposing. Minutes had reluctantly taken on the role of Prime Minister due to a series of unlikely events. If Mithra wanted the position, Minutes would gladly step aside. Their main objective was to stabilize the Empire, and for the most part, they had succeeded. Minutes envisioned significant changes in the Empire's political structure. Calguryo had also sensed Minutes' intentions.
Yes, we want Mithra's cooperation to rally the nobles to our side. Letting him take charge wouldn't break our promises. But isn't that a bit unfair, Minutes?
As he gritted his teeth, Calguryo couldn't help but remember the grudge Minutes' brother held against him.
Are you saying you're willing to give me the position of Prime Minister?
I appreciate how quickly you caught on. Can you spare a moment to hear our perspective?
Fine.
Reluctantly, Mithra nodded, realizing he was out of the loop on certain matters. So, Minutes began to explain. Masayuki himself didn't actually want to be emperor, but abandoning the empire now would lead to serious political instability. They were also aware of a new and unknown enemy lurking about, and if ignored, it would cause significant trouble for everyone in due time. That's why both Tempest and the Dwarven Kingdom had welcomed Masayuki as emperor. Velgrind obeyed only Masayuki's will. In other words, if he didn't become emperor, she would abandon the entire empire without hesitation. Plus, losing their guardian dragon would create a massive problem. When considering all these factors, it would be in the best interest of all citizens if Masayuki accepted the invitation to take the throne.
Like I mentioned earlier,
Minutes concluded, maintaining a composed tone.
His Majesty himself sees the throne as an enormous burden. If someone were to take on that role instead, it would likely be welcomed without much objection.
Mithra grasped the reasoning behind this statement. The empire's stability relied heavily on Velgrind's loyalty. If Masayuki didn't ascend the throne, Velgrind might cut ties with the empire altogether. However, this also meant that as long as Masayuki retained his title as emperor, someone else could handle the actual governance. In fact, it might even be beneficial for the empire's progress if they didn't confine Masayuki to the responsibilities of rulership. Testarossa chimed in with a sweet smile, her voice gentle.
The demon lord Rimuru also wants to establish a fruitful relationship with Sir Masayuki. If Sir Masayuki becomes emperor, Sir Rimuru promises to provide the utmost assistance. So rest assured, we aren't trying to seize the throne.
Mithra had already been briefed on this beforehand. It was widely known throughout the empire that despite winning the battle, Rimuru didn't demand much in terms of reparations.
That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for always watching my videos and supporting my channel. A big thanks to the AnimeKouhai patrons who made this video possible. Judah Herrera, Just a Guy, Misael W. Hernandez, Lamar, Anselmo, KACP9R, Tony, Donald Williams, Moab A, Day of Light, John M, Godman Gaming, Markithian Tidwell. Thank you so much for helping out. I'll see you guys in the next video.